I bought my first house on a Tuesday, and by Friday I had used a butter knife as a screwdriver to try and hang a mirror in the hallway. I want to be very clear that this was not a moment of desperation. I owned 0 tools, not one. The mirror lasted about 4 seconds on the wall before it swung sideways, clipped a lamp, and nearly took out my cat, who has never fully forgiven me and now avoids that hallway entirely. That mirror is the reason this list exists, because nobody tells you when you're signing 30 pages of mortgage paperwork that the very next thing you need to do is become a person who owns a cordless drill and a hammer and about 8 other things. Start with the cordless drill, because every single source on this topic, from Bob Vila's testing team to the contractors at this old house, points to it as the one power tool you actually need on day one. Contractors often reach for DeWalt or Milwaukee on the job site, but for a first-time homeowner who's still figuring out which end of the drill bit goes in first, you don't need to spend that kind of money. Tom Silva, the longtime contractor on this old house, put it about as plainly as a person can. He said he doesn't even use a corded drill anymore, and that plumbers, electricians, and duct guys have all gone cordless too. Bob Vila's testers landed on the Black & Decker 20-volt Max as their budget pick at $49.95, mostly because it drives screws, drills holes, and survives being dropped by someone who, again, was recently using a butter knife as their primary tool. You'll want to grab a basic set of drill bits while you're at it. Twist bits for wood and metal, plus a few Phillips and flathead driver bits, because the drill is only as useful as what you put in it. Both Home Depot and Lowe's carry starter bit sets for under $15. That cover most of what you'll actually encounter. Next is the tape measure, which sounds boring until you're standing in an empty living room trying to figure out if the couch from your old apartment is going to fit through the front door. Bob Vila's top pick here was the Stanley 25-foot power lock, chosen for a bead lock that keeps the blade from snapping back and taking a chunk out of your thumb, which is a very specific kind of pain I did eventually experience, just not with this particular tool. Then there's the stud finder, which I did not own the week I destroyed the mirror, and which would have saved that mirror's life. Pro Tool Reviews recommends the modern electronic kind over the old magnetic ones, because instead of just beeping at a nail somewhere in the wall, it actually shows you the full width of the stud, so you're not guessing where the center is. That's the difference between a mirror that hangs for 10 years and a mirror that becomes a referendum on your competence in front of your in-laws. A level belongs on this list too, and Pro Tool Reviews puts it almost as a dare. Their exact words were that if you don't have an OCD bone in your body, hang things level anyway, as a favor to the rest of us. A basic torpedo level costs next to nothing and solves a problem that a butter knife notably cannot. Screwdrivers come next, and here's where I'll admit the butter knife almost worked, which is somehow worse than if it hadn't. Pro Tool Reviews suggests a multi-bit screwdriver that stores its own tips, so you're not digging through a drawer for the one Phillips head that fits. And this old house's Tom Silva backs this up, specifically calling out a multi-bit screwdriver with interchangeable heads as one of the handful of things a total beginner actually needs. And while we're building out the basics, get a hammer, a real one. A 16-ounce claw hammer like the Estwing E 3-16C is the one most contractors point beginners toward. Steel handle, drives nails, pulls nails, costs around $30 at Home Depot, and will genuinely last longer than you will. The become a person who owns a hammer moment I mentioned earlier, this is what that looks like in practice. Now here's the thing nobody puts on the fun list, but every single expert I found insists on. Richard Trethewey, the plumbing expert on this old house, said the very first thing a new homeowner should do isn't buy a drill or hang a mirror. It's find the main water shutoff valve in the basement or wherever it lives and put a tag on it. His reasoning is blunt. When water starts coming out of a wall that should not have water in it, you do not want to be reading the homeowner's manual for the first time. You want to already know which handle to turn. While you're doing that walkthrough, also locate your circuit breaker panel. Label the breakers if they aren't already, because that's the other thing that becomes urgent in the dark, and usually at the worst possible time. Past the halfway point here, and this is the part where all of this stops being a shopping list and starts being about you, specifically standing in your new house at 11 at night when something drips or wobbles or falls off a wall, and you have to decide in that moment whether you're a person who has a tool for this or a person who's about to have a very long night. That's really what this list is. It's not about becoming a contractor. It's about not being the person with the butter knife. Which brings me to the plunger, a tool nobody wants to think about until they desperately need one. Get one with a flange, the soft soft rubber flap that extends out from the cup because a flat plunger only works on flat surfaces like a kitchen sink, and toilets are notably not flat. This is the kind of detail you learn exactly once, usually at the worst possible time. An adjustable wrench rounds things out nicely. Bob Vila's pick was the Crescent 10-inch in black oxide, praised for a wider handle and a big knurl that makes it easier to adjust with one hand, which matters more than you'd think when you're upside down under a sink at 9 at night, cursing a leveling foot on the dishwasher. A flashlight, or better yet, a small LED work light, deserves a spot on this list even though nobody ever puts it here. When the power goes out, or when you're trying to see behind the water heater, your phone flashlight is not going to cut it. A simple headlamp from Home Depot runs about $15 and is one of those things you'll reach for more than you expect. And finally, a utility knife, the kind with replacement blades stored right in the handle. You'll use it exactly once a day for the first 2 weeks, breaking down the wall of cardboard boxes that apparently multiplies overnight, and then randomly for the next decade for everything from old caulk to carpet edges. That mirror, by the way, eventually went back up, properly this time, with an actual drill, an actual stud finder, and a level that confirmed it was, in fact, level, which felt like a genuine accomplishment. The cat still won't walk under it. Some relationships you just don't repair with a better toolkit.